to the Hustle and Flow podcast. I'm Shaun, the Hustle.
And I'm Les, the Flow.
Let's go.
Right.
All right, Les. So today is my turn to choose a topic.
Yep.
And what's funny is we're actually messaging each other a bit this morning. And I said to you, I've thought about a couple of things and there's nothing really that's on my heart or my mind that I was thinking I was that excited to discuss. And then you were like, oh, let's just jump on and we'll work it out as we start talking. And I was like, that's it, man. That's it. That's actually the topic for today. And that topic is do it anyway.
Okay.
And working things out as we go. So can't really distill that into a single word, I guess, for like a title we could put on this podcast or what we're going to discuss. But what I realized when you said you were just like, we'll just turn it on and we'll start talking and we'll work it out, is reminding me of that phrase of do it anyway and how important that is.
Yep.
Not just at a time like this, I guess for some context, we're in early April 2020. We're in Australia. We're all in self-isolation at the moment. And, it's thrown a lot of people's routines, what they can do. It's actually shut down a lot of businesses. It's changed a lot of businesses and how they can operate. Majority of people are working from home, except for essential services, which are keeping things running. So those people are out and working, but for the most part, the majority of the population is at home.
Yeah.
And, you and I are used to working from home.
Yeah, totally.
So I guess you could say for the most part, we're better equipped than a lot of people who have been thrust into the situation of having to go from having a regular office routine or wherever they work, or whether it be a gym or a cafe or anything, to now being at home and spending a lot of time with themselves or with just a few select people that they live with. And it can change your mood very quickly.
Yeah.
If you're not used to it. And even when you are used to it, I have days when I get a bit cagey, especially at this time. We're not meant to go out, and those of us that are respecting that are staying indoors, only going out for things that we need. And it's very easy to kind of just get caught up in your own little bubble and not be motivated to do things and to lose that drive, right? And I guess for me over this past week, it's weird because I've worked from home for years. I'm out a lot, but I also do work from home a lot. And this week's been different. It's been different. It's just people are around in my house, and the fact that you can't go out, I don't know what it is about that. I think there's something in all of us as humans where you just want to do what you're not meant to do.
Right. Yeah.
And a lot of us have, in some form or another, some fear of missing out on things, or not even a fear of missing out on things, like the FOMO of it. It's just more, you want to be doing things that you aren't able to do, right? And that kind of manifests into this funk inside you. And when we were talking this morning, I was like, oh, I can't come up with anything. I was just thinking about all these different topics, and then realized things like recording this podcast for us is we've dedicated to do this podcast and put out episodes and to have these conversations, which we feel are going to help people by listening to them.
Yeah.
And, I guess part of me thought that I didn't want to just throw out a random topic and talk for the sake of talking.
Yeah, for sure.
But on the flip side of that, when I told you I don't really know what I want to discuss or don't have a topic, and you're like, let's just jump on, it was like a lightning bolt in me. And it reminded me of that phrase, which, I try to repeat to myself all the time, which is do it anyway. Because there's a whole bunch of shit that happens in regular times as well that I don't want to do. And I know that's the case for everyone, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of people that are going to be listening to this, I know it's the case for you too. There's just things that we have to do that we don't want to do. And we have to find a way to start to do those. Yeah. And I think having an attitude of do it anyway helps with that.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, that's what I wanted to discuss today, I guess, is the importance of that mentality, which I think is very useful it's a productive mentality to have, because it helps to pull you out of funks. It helps to get you to actually progress on things that otherwise would not progress if you just succumb to what Andy Frisella calls your inner bitch. And that might be a crude way of putting it, but that's what it is. That's how I view it. It's that softer side of you that wants to forego doing certain types of work, forego doing things that you know you're meant to be doing, but you just choose otherwise, and you choose not to do it. That's going to end up putting you in a shittier position later.
Yeah.
And after learning, the attitude of just do it anyway, it's changed a lot for me. It's made me a much more productive person. And I find that when I just being conscious about it is super important. And we always talk about that, of being conscious of your thoughts, how you feel, what you're thinking, and then sitting on top of that and analyzing why that is, because then you can do something about it. Instead of being driven by your emotions without any control. If you can sort of sit above your thoughts or observe your thoughts and work out why you feel that way and why you're feeling a certain way in a moment, you can do something about it, and you can move towards a state where you actually want to be.
Yeah.
And that's what having that attitude of doing it anyway, for me anyway, does. It gets me to sit on top of that thought, be like, I don't want to do it. I'm like, wait a minute, you're having that moment where you are, about to be driven by your emotions. I think I'm inherently lazy.
Yeah.
And that developing this attitude of doing it anyway has helped me to become someone who is more productive. It gets me to shift into a mode where I'm actually getting things done, where I feel that I could just easily forego doing a lot of work or forego doing things that I know I'm meant to do and put them on the back burner, and then be in like a further back position to where I am.
Yeah.
Or where I end up by just doing things. And being an observer of your thoughts helps you to realize that you're about to get into a certain mode where you might choose to, you might be in a funk, and then you choose not to do something. And that's actually going to be detrimental for you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you can observe your thoughts and be like, oh, there might be something you don't want to do, like I don't want to go work out. Right? If you can observe the fact that you've had that thought that I don't want to work out, it's like, wait a minute, you should be working out. Just go do it anyway, because it's what you should be doing. And then you go do the workout, right? That's putting you in a position that you want to be in. It's doing something for yourself, which you made a conscious decision about to improve on, right?
Yeah.
Which is going to push you forward.
Yeah.
Whereas if you succumb to that simple thought of, I'm not going to do it, and your mind has these weird way of playing tricks on you and justifying things, right, that logically aren't good for you, then you end up further back.
Yeah.
So I think being an observer of your thoughts is a really important element of this, where you realize that you're having one of those moments and you find a way to pivot and snap yourself out of it, and then go do the thing that you should be doing, or which you told yourself you would do. So
I
you
think
end up
that's
in a
key.
better position.
That's important, man. It's important to reiterate the point that it's about that the thing that you consciously chose to do. It's not necessarily about just doing things for the sake of doing things, right? It's just about that conscious choice
Correct.
that you made and following up on that. So yeah, I think it's this particular recording and this podcast is a good example of the topic anyway, right? Because this, for transparency, like Shaun and I, we usually record in my home office together in the same room, but obviously at this particular moment, we're not able to do that. So we're jumping on Zoom and doing it. And, it might sound a little different. We've got the video happening now as well. So this is, again, our commitment to this project, to adapt and pivot and be nimble according to the current landscape, the lay of the land, the environment that we're being presented with. And I think that for me is where that mindset comes, or this particular topic sort of comes from for me, is that it's about being nimble, it's being adaptive, and pivoting according to what obstacle may lie in the path that you are walking at the particular moment in time. I think that this is a great time to highlight a lot of people's behaviors and show what or how innovative or how able people are to deal with such radical change. And like you were saying, lifestyle-wise, it's not very different for you and I. The little nuances is just about being able to step out and do the things you want to do when you want to do them, in terms of physical relocation or whatever it is, going out to the shops, or for instance, I don't go and see my mum anymore on the weekends because we don't live together, and you're not supposed to go out unless it's for essential purposes such as getting food and whatnot. So things like that. But for me, it comes down to this level of convenience for yourself. And now that the convenience has been compromised, are you willing or aware enough to see the rules or see the lay of the land for what it is completely, and adhere to the most logical mode of operation? So what I mean by that is, say for instance, I am always used to being able to go out and go for a walk, go to the gym, but now I'm not allowed to. It's inconvenient for me that I can't go to the gym, so I have to find another way. But do I ignore the rules and go anyway and risk the greater issue behind, the exacerbation and spread of the coronavirus, and putting the increased spread at greater risk? So that level of convenience, it sort of sits at this crossroad for me every time. You sort of come to this fork in the road where you can make a choice, and every time you sort of ask yourself, and this is what you were talking about before in terms of being conscious of these decisions that you make. You come to a point in the road and you're just like, okay, if I go down one path, I'm just going to ignore everything. It's going to be fine. It's convenient for me. And I want to maintain that level of convenience for myself and continue to go to the gym. There's probably not going to be anyone around, so it's fine. I'll take the necessary precautions. Or you take the other road and say, look, this pandemic, this issue is greater than myself and my convenience. It's not about me. It's not about the people around me. It's about everyone on planet Earth right now. And we have to do what is responsible as a responsible human being. We don't have to do much. We're not being asked to do a lot. We're asked to stay at home and be comfortable at home. So what's the alternative? I can work out at home, do something different. It might be different. It might not be as effective because I don't get the equipment. I don't have all the equipment, all that sort of stuff. But hey, I'll make do. And that's the difference about adaptation, about being flexible, nimble, adaptive, and just pivoting at certain moments in time in your life. That when you're given a different set of cards, dealt a different set of cards that you're not used to, or is different, or you're not used to, or is causing some, or may cause some, feeling of inconvenience for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And I think there's a couple of things like in what you're explaining. So there's this element as well that, so we're talking about inconvenience now, but there's also an increased level of difficulty for a lot of people, right? So we're in a fortunate position where like we've got comfortable homes. We can do our work from home, a lot of it. For me, On the flip side of that is there's been a lot of business operation for me that has had to stop, right? Like this whole situation has made it difficult for me to run my business essentially. So I have a supplement business. I have a whole bunch of wholesale clients that I sell to, which are gyms and coaches, and their businesses have been shut down by government mandate. You can't operate a gym right now.
Yep.
Fitness coaches have been, they've gone from, you know, having jobs in gyms to not having a gym to operate out of because they got shut down. And then they were told they could do outdoor training, 10 people with social distancing. Then that got changed this week to no more than one-on-one training outdoors, right? So the people that are buying supplements at the moment has drastically decreased, okay, just by virtue of my clientele, as an example. Yep. Now, it's made things a lot harder. I'm fortunate that I have an online side as well, right? And things have become harder, and it would be very easy for me to just say, you know what, I made a big portion of my business I'm not able to operate on, right? So I'm just going to stop doing that. And that's an easy thing to do. But then comes into play again. Things are hard, yes, but you've got to do it anyway, right? So it's the situation, and having that attitude has made me reframe and think about, yeah, I don't want to do it this other way, but I have to, right?
Totally.
Because they're the cards we've been dealt, which is what you were saying. Like, you've been dealt a certain hand of cards. Now you have to choose what you do with them. And having the attitude of doing it anyway is like, cool. Even if you get dealt a shitty hand of cards, you've still got to push forward. You've still got to do things that are in your best interest, and also be mindful of the interests of others and being mindful of that, right? So like, I'm not going to go out and conduct any business operations or have any business operations in my business done that are going to put other people at risk, right?
Yeah.
And that comes to this other part of the do it anyway, which is very relevant right now to me, which is when there are things that are much bigger than us, that affect much more than us, right? There are circumstances like right now, people are being told to social distance, right? And no matter what you think about that in itself, however you think viruses spread or don't, whether you're a scientist or not, we're all being told at the moment, right, to keep our distance, to only go out for essential services, right? So that we flatten the curve, which is what they call it, right? Which is stopping the mass spread of a virus that could get out of hand and overload our health system, or the fact that you might be carrying a virus that you will then pass on to someone else who can pass it on to someone elderly or who's immunocompromised, that could then have a very fatal result and they could die, right?
Yeah.
Whether you agree with any of that or not, of like what your beliefs are, your inconveniences, what's difficult for you, what you want to do and what you don't want to do, sometimes you have to look at the wider picture, and regardless of what you think, do it anyway, because it's not just about you.
Yeah, totally.
And you need to have those considerations as well, right? Like, I want to go out to cafes, I want to go out and get my favorite takeout and stuff, but I don't. I don't, because I don't want to be part of any type of spread, right? I'm not an epidemiologist. I don't know how viruses work, right? And even if I did, I think it's just common sense of, if someone tells you that something could be passed from someone to another, reducing contact will help with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of things that I don't want to do, but I'm doing it anyway. Right? I have another business that I run with my cousin, which has been completely shut down, right? We do events. Events have all been cancelled. You can't have events right now, right? The government has shut down all gatherings. There are things that I could still do within that business for sure, right? But there's risks that are involved with that. And even though I want to keep running my business, and we want to keep pushing forward, there's things that we've been told to do that we don't want to do, but we have to do it anyway, because for a greater purpose. And you've got to have that type of awareness as well, and not be so selfish about shit.
Yeah. I
because
think, yeah. Sorry, you go on.
yeah, no, because like there's just things that are at play that are bigger than our individual selves,
Yeah,
and you got to be mindful of that. And I think being a responsible citizen of the world, regardless of where you live, is just to take care of other people the best way that you can.
totally.
And the fact is that like some of the stuff that we're being told to do isn't that hard,
It really isn't. It
right?
really
Like,
is. Honestly, like
yeah,
you're being told to stay at home and watch television. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, man. Like going off on a bit of a tangent,
Mm.
I see memes come out right now. There's that one that people are circulating, which is I think it's like a gorilla in a zoo, in a cage in a zoo. And they're
Yeah.
like, now you know how it feels. And I think to myself, and I've even, because some of my friends have posted that, and I've just messaged them like individually, and I'm like, um, gorillas can't go get takeout or Uber Eats delivered
Yeah.
or choose what they do with their time where they are. I'm like, people are really dramatizing certain aspects of what's happening right now and taking it a bit too far. Like, you're not in a zoo. You
Yeah.
can go do a lot of shit still,
Yeah.
right? And you control what you're doing, and you're
Mm.
putting that mentality upon yourself, or
Yeah.
rather you're putting all of those thoughts at the forefront of your mind, and then working yourself up over shit. Like, you're not in a zoo. And then there's other comparisons where people are like, these are the hardest times and this is our version of the war for this generation. I'm like, no, it's not at all.
Yeah. I
Like,
mean,
no
to,
one
to
is
compare, yeah, to compare sitting at home and watching Netflix all day to a war zone is yeah.
it's crazy, dude.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Mm.
Like, to compare it to being chosen to go overseas, have a gun strapped on you in a little dinghy boat, open up with someone firing at you and being told, if you see guys that aren't wearing what you're wearing, fire at them,
Mm.
and having a massive potential to lose your life,
Mm.
is very, very starkly different to stay home where you have Netflix and can get food delivered to you,
Mm.
and you don't have to actually work right now because we're going to give you some money to get you through this
But
time. Like,
that's
it's
key, man.
crazy,
That's
man.
key. That's key
It's
as well.
crazy. Like, to be making comparisons like that, and it's
Mm.
all a matter of perspective.
Yeah, totally. And like, I think we can draw on like a recent example a few weeks ago, before the more stringent government regulations came in about self-isolation and quarantine and staying at home and stuff like that. It was obviously talked about that we're going to need to social distance, and um, there was like, I think, thousands of people still at Bondi Beach, and they shut it down because these are the types of people we're talking about in terms of, it's inconvenient for myself, or this is what I want to do, and you're telling me I'm not able to do it, but I'm just going to ignore that anyway because I'm going to look after my own self-interests. To go out and have some fun in the sun, and enjoy the beach, and that in itself is, I think it paints a big picture, a nice picture of what you just mentioned, what you're talking about in terms of this level of awareness that goes both ways, right? There is a
Mm.
level of awareness, and we're talking about the choice to continually choose a leisurely activity over decreasing the risk of viral spread. And it comes back down to this quote that I quite like, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't remember it word for word, but one of the most difficult things for humans to do is just to sit quietly in a room by themselves. And
Mm.
I think it's totally true. That is one of the biggest problems for, especially for modern people, right? Because we
Yeah.
have so much abundance and accessibility at our fingertips, and um, we're always instantly gratifying ourselves one way or another, or distracting ourselves, or putting our attention or focus on one thing or another that is um, momentarily pleasing, right? And now that we are forced
Mm-hmm.
to stay inside, we have less access to that. And you mentioned this before about, people are starting to talk about having cabin fever and all that sort of stuff. And I just chuckle a little bit inside, you know, this stuff, really, it comes down to this is what I've trained for many years. It is my personal bread and butter. And I know that it's hard for a lot of people, and that's cool. But again, coming back to the point of taking a step back and looking at what you're being asked to do, it really isn't a difficult thing to just stay at home in the comfort of your own home and enjoy the luxuries that you have around you. Watch TV, all that sort of stuff. It really isn't that bad. Especially when you're looking at the grand perspective of why we're being asked to do this, right? And even if you look further on the point of why we're being asked to do this and why we're being asked to do this now and why it's so stringent, if we flatten the curve, so to speak, then we quickly or come back to normalcy quicker, right?
Yeah.
But if we continue to be blasé about it, then it's going to take longer for everything to come back to quote unquote normal. So I think
that's right. And on that, sorry to cut you off, but there's right. Like also, I get one thing before I say what I want to say is like, I just want to point out, I don't think that either of us are being insensitive to people that are in tough spots either, right? Like, I understand that it can be very hard for people, you know, especially people that have essentially lost their businesses over this time, to just home and watch TV and do that stuff, because you've got a whole bunch of shit flying around in your mind. You're trying to work out how things are going to be worked out after and what you're going to be able to do about it, right? But a lot of us are in that situation, and we are choosing to do things that we don't want to do for the greater good, right? So I'm not trying to be insensitive at all, or not being mindful of the different situations out there and the fact that this is a very hard time for certain people.
Yeah, totally.
Right? But there's also what goes in line with that, which is another thing that I heard Andy Frisella talk about, and it is so true, is the longer everybody takes to do what we're being told to do, the longer it takes to get back to a stage where we can operate as we were operating, right? And getting back to running our businesses, being able to go out and do things, right? And I feel that if you're one of those people who is just being selfish straight up, and you're like, it doesn't affect me, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do what I want, you're actually prolonging this period and making it a much longer time for the people that are affected by this, in terms of economically and socially, to be able to get back to doing what they were doing.
Totally.
Right?
Absolutely.
And you're robbing people of that time. Your selfish nature and what you're choosing to do right now for yourself, because you don't want to be inconvenienced right now, right, is going to lengthen this period of time. And you're taking it every single day you do that, you are taking a day away from someone being able to reopen their business, to be able to work for their families and make something and push forward, right? Which is a very selfish thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you got to stop and think about that. You have to, in the scheme of where we are right now. And if you don't want to do it, this is the point of coming back to what we, start talking about, is do it anyway. There's things you just have to do, which are for a greater good, for yourself or for society or for the people around you, your circle, at different points in time, in different contexts, in different situations, right? There are things you don't want to do, but you have to do them anyway, right? And when you do that, when you just do it anyway, things get better.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like I can draw on many examples, right? And it all comes down to one thing. And you mentioned this before, it comes down to perspective. That's all it is, right? I'll draw on a few examples. So my own personal example, doing it anyway, right? Pivoting, seeing things differently. Like when I was diagnosed with cancer in 2013, I was stepping into a new job at my old place of work, the quote unquote dream job. But because I had to jump straight into cancer treatment, obviously I wasn't able to take that straight up. But again, that is a matter of perspective, because when I took a step back and looked at the greater picture, who gives a fuck about a job when I'm battling a cancerous disease in my body? You know, that is obviously the most important thing that was in front of me at that point in time. Sure, it was a shitty hand to be dealt, but what could I do about it? It was already there. I had to deal with it somehow. I just had to move on and deal with it the way I needed to, right? And the same thing with another example that I'd like to bring up. One of my mentees through my mentorship program, he just stepped out of a full-time job, less than a month ago. And he went into the fitness industry as a personal trainer.
What a time.
Yeah, exactly right. And not even 3 weeks into his tenure as a full-time PT, all this stuff happened and his job was in jeopardy. But again, you can look at it one of two ways. You can say, woe is me, what am I going to do with my life now? Because into this new venture or chapter of his life, he was being thrown a quite a significant curveball. Or he can pivot, and now he's working on the online side of his business, which is where he aspired to anyway. It's just a quickened up timeline for that, so there's opportunities everywhere. There's opportunities in this moment as well for people who aren't able to, or feel like they're not able to deal with the boredom of sitting alone at home, or aren't good at reflecting, self-reflection, or even being aware of what they're thinking. You have the time and space to do that now, so why not use it?
And I think that is such an important point as well, is like your perspective is everything, and how you choose to look at the situation is going to dictate how you move through it and what you take from it.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
So this is also, while you might be forced to stay inside and you can't work, right? Even if you want to work, this might be a time that you can use to work on other things that you always told yourself you didn't have time for.
Absolutely.
Right? So you can look at the blessings that are within the situation, which, isn't looking so great at the moment.
Yeah, for sure.
And in doing that, you can do things to better yourself again and to better your own situations. And also to put you in a position where you're enjoying the time that you are being given right now.
Yeah,
right?
100%, man. 100%.
Like they always say, there's also, there's a concept, and I believe it, which is when things are thrown at you, difficult times or a bad situation, a lot of the time you can look at that as like, and it sounds a bit hokey, but it's a gift from the universe showing you what you need to handle and take care of, right? That you may have been ignoring, or that you didn't even know about, that was going to affect you badly. If you were like your friend right now, he's very new to the fitness industry, right? But it's been my industry for a very long time. Other coaches that I know that have just been doing one-to-one training are now seeing that, or if they were doing just group training, for example, that they only had one leg on the table for their whole model. And now that they've been told that they can't train people, right, in person, they have nothing else to stand on. They've got no other legs to stand on. So this has shown them that, things can change, things do happen, and you need to have other things in place in your business, other avenues in place in your business to be able to keep going, to be able to run your business, to be able to make money, right?
Totally.
And that's a gift. I think that's a gift. I think it's a gift from universe telling you that, you need to work these other things out.
Absolutely, man.
Here it is. I'm showing you what you need to do. or I'm showing you that things aren't always going to be the best. You can't just rely on one thing. You need to work out something else. And you're also being given the time to develop that right now, right? So
100%.
take the opportunity, do something about it. And then when we all come out on the other side of this, you're going to have more of those legs to stand on.
100%.
And you have to look at that as a gift, because you're being shown, and you're going to be better as a result.
Absolutely. I think the key to that is whether you are aware to the fact that the opportunities are there, right? And if you're not willing or open to see that, then obviously, they're not going to be there for you. And like, exactly right in terms of what you're saying, like, it's a forceful way of things happening around you to poke holes at whatever you have right now, or whatever you're doing right now, or your mode of operation in life, business, whatever, right? Like, not all businesses can be fortunate enough or prepared enough, like the big business, to have disaster recovery plans and all that sort of stuff. But now you're being shown that no matter how big or small you are, you need it to a certain extent to be able to effectively move through situations like this, right? Because if you're not prepared, then this is what happens, right? You're going to be scrambling. But again, this is a lesson. What do you learn from that? How do you prepare yourself next time for the next shit show that happens, right? That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's how we learn. But we have to be aware and open to the lessons being taught to us. And that's it. Like I always tell everyone, I'm calling this time, a gift and a blessing, and people are taking it the wrong way because they think that I'm being facetious or something like that, but I'm totally not. Like, this time is just pushing me down one certain avenue of my own business ventures that I've been working on, my little projects, right? Whereas my focus would have been a bit more fractured prior, if I had more, physical room to move, if I had space to go out and do other things. But now my focus is right on these things that I need to focus on. So, hey, this is a blessing, man. Like, the amount of productivity and efficiency that I've moved through a certain project in the last 2 or 3 weeks, because I've been, quote unquote, forced to stay inside. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Stuff is unraveling right before my eyes. And I don't think I would have moved, with this creativity and productivity if not for being told to stay. So, it's all about perspective in the end.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So,
man, is there anything that you want to discuss about doing it anyway? Anything that's coming to mind for you?
No, I think that's it, really. I mean, like I said, the big part of it for me is just around a level of self-resilience, so that you are able to pivot and adapt. I think it's key. It's a key part of living. It's a key part of living effectively in an environment that is always shifting, right? To put it very simply, how can you survive in a stagnated form in a world that is always changing? You must always move with it. Otherwise, you're going to be left behind. It's as simple as that. So do it anyway is sort of the saying, look, it doesn't matter what you expected it to be like. If it's different, then you must adapt or be left behind or just complain about nothing.
Yep.
That's it.
I agree, man. I totally agree. All right. So where can they find you, Les?
Yeah. So you can hit me up on my website, findingspace.co. Facebook is facebook.com/findingspace.co. And instagram.com/findingspace.co. Hit me up on any of those channels, send me an email, DM me, whatever. And get in touch. How about you, Shaun?
Awesome, man. And you can find me, best place to find me is on Instagram, Shaun_Coop. So SHAUN_COOP. Hit me up with a message. And if there's anything you guys would like us to talk about, we're more than happy to take suggestions for our pod here. Would love to discuss some things that you guys are interested in. And as we always ask, guys, we've just got a very small fee. We just ask that if you found any nuggets in here, or you enjoyed the conversation, or were able to take something away from it, that you share it with someone else that you feel might benefit from it too. That's how we grow this podcast. And we would really like your help in helping us to get the word out and get these conversations into the ears of some other people that we might be able to help too.
Yeah, totally. And, we're going to be starting to interview some guests as well on our podcast, bring in a third perspective in, which will be cool and fun. So, again, in the same vein, if you would like us to speak to someone in particular, or if you would like to speak to us, hey, just let us know. Get in touch, and yeah, we'll set it up.
For sure. And just lastly, guys, we are on Spotify and iTunes now. So if you guys really do value this podcast, hit the subscribe, leave a review for us. 5-star, obviously preferred, but we'd love to hear what you think of it. And we'll leave you with that. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll catch you next time.
See you guys.